Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you all so much for joining us here today. I'm Maria Collett, and I am your state senator representing parts of Montgomery and Bucks counties in Pennsylvania's 12th district. Senator Casey and I are truly excited to welcome you to our senior scam prevention event. And we're going to start off with some brief introductions and then move on to our panel discussion, and then conclude with an opportunity to visit some of the tables that we have in the back and out in the hallway, where organizations from across our district are providing some incredible resources. With the constant phone calls, mailers, and emails that we get these days, anyone of any age could fall victim to a scam. Unfortunately, older adults are often targeted more heavily. Pennsylvania has one of the fastest growing aging populations in the country, and the Philadelphia suburbs are home to a large, thriving senior community. It's critical that we hold events like this one to make sure citizens like you are armed with the tools you need to protect yourself and your family against fraud attempts. This is a topic of particular importance to me as a nurse with long-term care experience and as the Democratic chair of the Senate Aging and Youth Committee. My staff and I are always brainstorming new ways to combat fraud in Pennsylvania, whether it's through connecting constituents to resources like we have here today, supporting them if they have been a victim to fraud, or proposing new legislation to stop scammers in their tracks. Many of the bills I have introduced have come from the suggestions and concerns raised through my team. And if you have a suggestion or if you need any assistance, please don't hesitate to reach out to my office. Again, thank you all for joining us today. I hope you come out of this event feeling better prepared to avoid financial and consumer fraud. And now it is truly my pleasure to introduce my co-host and friend, United States Senator Bob Casey.
Senator, thanks so much for having this event today and making us part of it. But thank you in a larger sense for your leadership in the Senate of Pennsylvania, as well as your leadership as the Democratic chair of the Senate Aging and Youth Committee. I serve on a committee that's, two committees actually, that do some of the same work, and I'm grateful to be here to talk about so many of these issues. I am part of the warm-up act before we turn to the experts. But I want to thank the experts who are here on this panel from the Federal Trade Commission, the Office of Attorney General, Attorney General Shapiro's office, as well as the Postal Inspection Service, and all those who do such good work every day, every week, every month, every year, in protecting all of us from frauds and scams, especially those who are working to protect seniors. Your work, the work of the people here and the work of others in this room, is critical to preventing frauds, scams, all kinds of predatory schemes that prey on Americans every day. And this was happening, of course, long before the pandemic, but made ever worse by the pandemic itself. We know that I think that's still on. We know that the pandemic made these issues worse for so many Americans. Criminals, and that's what they are, they're criminals, preyed on the fear and the uncertainty surrounding the virus, as well as the resulting loneliness and isolation that so many Americans were facing. Federal agencies, state government agencies, advocacy organizations, all continue to warn of con artists who do, among several things, but here's just some examples. For example, peddling fake cures for the virus, COVID-19, posing as federal state agencies to steal benefits. And third, falsifying. This is one of the newer ones we've heard more about. Falsifying romantic relationships to gain a senior's trust. And that's true, that happens. And I'll tell you about one example of an individual it happened to at one of our hearings who testified. But look, any one of us, I don't care what your age is, I don't care what your background is, I don't care how much education you have or how much experience you have. Any one of us could fall prey to this. Any one of us could be ensnared by one of these schemes. This issue, in a place where you don't hear a lot about bipartisanship, meaning Washington, D.C., this issue has been the subject of bipartisan concern and bipartisan work for many years, on the Senate Special Committee on Aging especially, where I'm now the chair, and I work with the ranking member, the top Republican, Tim Scott from South Carolina. Just about a year ago, 11 months ago, we had a hearing that examined how con artists target seniors during the pandemic. At that hearing, and here's the example of which I spoke, Kate Kleinert. Kate is from Delaware County, Glen Olden, Pennsylvania. She courageously shared her story of surviving a romance scam where a criminal defrauded her of tens of thousands of dollars. A theme we've heard from Kate and other witnesses was the importance of education in stopping frauds and scams before they start. Now that's why we've produced, and this isn't just in my time, although when I'm the chairman I take credit for it, but this book has been produced by the committee for a long time. I was the ranking member, Senator Susan Collins, worked as chair to produce this. But the name of this publication is called Fighting Fraud. Senate Aging Committee identifies top 5, and we could probably make it longer than 5, but top 5 scams targeting our seniors since 2015. I'll just read a quick list in the table of contents. Number 1, government impersonation scams. I made reference to that. Number 2, sweepstakes scams. Number 3, illegal robocalls and unsolicited phone calls. Number 4, computer tech scams. Number 5, grandparent scams, which we've heard an awful lot about. So there's more that we could say about what's in this book, but there are copies of this in the back, and I want to make reference to the work of our staff. Lindsay Martin, Lindsay's right here. Lindsay she does all of our constituent work for the entire state of Pennsylvania. She has a damn hard job, but I'm glad that she's here today. She doesn't often get to leave the office. She's always working, and her team is always working. But Lindsay is here, as well as I think in the back. I think I see Nefertia back there. If you can wave, as well as Andrea, who's with her, and they can give you a copy of this book. I'll leave my copy because I got a copy with me that I can use. But the Aging Committee has, as part of this work that's in this scams book, has a toll-free hotline. I'm going to read you that, but I also want to let you know it's on the back here if you don't write it down or you want to look at it later. But here's the number, 855-303-9470. 855-303-9470. But again, it's on the back of this book. And of course, my staff can help if you miss it. So that's one way to report frauds and scams to one federal entity, so to speak, a United States Senate committee. Of course, there are a lot of other ways, and these experts who are coming after us will be able to give even more information, of course. I wanted to make note of a bill that passed in March, and you wouldn't know about it because it passed as part of a larger appropriations bill for the year. But it was a bill that I worked on with Senator Jerry Moran of Kansas. And again, sometimes Democrats and Republicans do work together. But Jerry and I worked on this bill for a couple of years and then just attached it to a larger bill and got it passed. It's the Stop Senior Scams Act. It was Senate Bill 337. But here's why I mention it. This bill does something simple. It's not earth-shattering, but it's simple and important. It creates an advisory committee in the federal government to ensure that banks and other businesses have both the information and the tools they need to train people that work on those banks and those other businesses to spot these scams ahead of time and to take steps to speak up and to prevent them in the first place. We've heard story after story where someone is scammed on the telephone at home. They're on their way to their bank to withdraw money or to wire transfer money to the con artist, and sometimes the bank has trained personnel. We just want to make sure everyone is trained. Has trained personnel to say, "Are you sure you want to transfer that money? Let's think about this. Let's talk about this for a moment." And we've had one example I remember where the guy was in the parking lot on his way into the bank when he finally decided not to do it. So that's a kind of work that can get done if we prepare folks. So I'm just grateful you're willing to be here today to not just to learn, but to be part of that part of that training and part of that awareness that we want to create. Because this can happen to anyone at any time. And sometimes you hear about a case and you think, oh, that would never happen to me, right? Until it happens to you. And that's true of all of us. And I'm so grateful that so many people are dedicated to helping seniors, helping all Americans from falling prey to these schemes. So thanks very much, and God bless your work.
Thank you so much, Senator. My name is Derek Rill, and I work for the Federal Commission. Came here from Washington, and it's been a long time. It's great to be back out on the road. Thank you, Senator Casey. Took me 20 minutes to remember how to tie a tie today, and I hope it worked. But for real, Senator Casey, my job is to get members of Congress to do events like this. And Senator Collett, we can't thank you enough. This is a big deal to the Federal Trade Commission, and I'll tell you why. Packed house. Look around. If every single one of us here's the deal. We're going to do a classroom-style environment today. I gave you a workbook. There'll be a quiz with prizes. Thank you. Thank you, Inspector Thomas. And what we'd like to do is we're not really worried so much about you all. You're here. So you're going to take the time to study this. What we really hope happens is you see those 2 empty seats right there? That person's probably out there hearing a scam and could be falling for it today. So what we want to do is we want to teach you up. And today you'll graduate as Consumer Education Ambassadors on behalf of the FTC. How's that look on your resume? Here's your diploma. This is your diploma. This is your master's degree. Let's see if we can get through both. But the reality is we need your help. Scams in America, consumers reported to us $5.8 billion lost to scams. In Pennsylvania, this is not a good thing to be a top 10 in. Pennsylvania is 10th in most complaints in the country for fraud. So we're going to do something about that. Money lost, $5.8 billion. For Pennsylvania, it was $74.7 million. That's, I got to get this right, $261 per person. And I got news for you. That's just who found the FTC, reported it to the FTC. So you know the problem's bigger than that. All right, so that's the problem. We're going to talk about the solution, and asking you to help us and become FTC Consumer Education Ambassadors is huge. So what are we seeing in fraud? As in, what are you seeing in fraud? 2 or 3 word answers. First of all, Senator Casey nailed them. And like in his 10 top complaints, 9 of them were imposter scams. All but one that I heard. I don't know if it was 10. I'm making stuff up now already. But here's the deal. Imposter scams. Name an imposter scam. General Dave.
This is the IRS. We've detected a problem in one of your past returns, and you're going to be arrested. Anybody get that call? Everybody, right? I get them on phones. We all get them.
You ready for this? We had a situation that's real, and he cut right to the chase, because I usually like to mention a couple of imposter scams first, but this is the big notable one. The IRS, we heard, the imposter, was asking to be paid in iTunes gift cards. Let me see if I got this right. The IRS has a disco ball and a dance hall, and all they need are some party jams? Yeah. Gift cards are for gifts, not for payments. Man, you nailed that one right out of the gate. So other imposter scams. What are you hearing? What do you? Because Senator Casey said any one of us can fall for this. I'm getting deep into my speech already. If you want a good life, marry somebody like my wife. I just thought I'd throw that in there. No, there's an issue here. My wife is the most careful. She reads credit card statements. She checks our credit reports, which we'll get into. She does everything that you could imagine. One day, around Christmas time, we got an email from FedEx. Real label, looks good. We've got packages that we tried to deliver today. All we need you to do is click on the attachment and fill out the form, and guess what? What happens if she clicks on that? Which she did do, by the way. It can happen to anybody. But here's the reality. Once you click on that, you're taking a trip in the Dominican Republic and calling everybody you know to get you out of jail because they've got your contact information and they're emailing everybody. You follow this? Does that make sense? So what I'm saying is she was hacked. And once they had her information, they could email everybody on her lists. And they could ask for, hey, I need your help, or I can't get home. So bottom line, it's an imposter scam. And it was a darn good one. Tech support. I'm with Microsoft. Pop up on your window. Click on that. What happens? You're hacked. Utility scams. Inspector Thomas, do you have one?
Not utility scam. Sorry, not the utility scams per se, but computer tech support fraud. I've been working computer tech support for the last 3 years, and essentially these calls are coming from overseas, and essentially would you want me to address how it works, or would you like me to say how to prevent it? So basically, they get your name from a multitude of ways. A lot of times, they initially used to be the pornographic sites. You click on it, your computer gets locked. Now you could do just Google a recipe or a bank. A screen pops up and it freezes your computer. The easy way to just get rid of it is just turn the computer off. Most of them is gone. I'm not talking about the ransomware type of cases, but these type, just close it. How to prevent this? Ultimately, they want to get you your money. They want to scare you. So wherever there's money involved, just be careful. Don't let people into your computer. They all want remote access. The common theme in computer tech fraud is they want to remote into your computer to scare you even further to part with your money. So don't let anybody into your computer.
All right, a couple more thoughts on imposter scams, and then we can go deeper. Other types. I'm with the Federal Trade Commission. You won a sweepstakes, and we need to collect fees on that. So they're making imposters of me. Other ones, Social Security Administration used to be #1 before IRS. Back here we have Senior Medicare Patrol. We were talking before the event. Very well aware that a new Medicare program enrollment period is coming up. You know what that means? It means more phone calls. Scammers follow the news. So it means you're going to be getting phone calls from the Social Security Administration. It's not them. And they're going to say, hey, I got the best Medicare program for you. All I need is your Social Security number and a gift card. Or wire me money, which is getting into the next thing. But here, before we go to payment mechanisms, here's your force field of fraud. Every single fraud, every single scam that we've talked about right now up till this point, here's how you get rid of it. If you didn't initiate the contact and they're asking you for money or your personal information, it's music. Here's how you can remember it. If you didn't initiate, we should investigate. Simple enough? Okay. If you didn't initiate, we should. Thank you. And report it to the Federal Trade Commission. We want you to be a hero, help end ripoffs. And basically, we'll get more to payment mechanisms, but reporting it to the Federal Trade Commission is a big deal. We talked about complaints earlier and complaints from Pennsylvania. You know what would be nice? Is if we got more complaints from people in Pennsylvania who have encountered but didn't fall for fraud. That means we have more opportunities for cases, nobody lost any money, and we're all doing good together. That $5.8 billion that we talked about is a drag on the economy, and we need to do something about it, and we really need your help. So not only just report it online, but spread the word, tell your loved ones, and we'll talk more category by category, but I did want to get to our real experts. First of all, we have General Dave. Last name I haven't memorized yet. But General Dave is with the Attorney General from Pennsylvania. Consumer Protection Division, and he's got some great programs I'll let him tell you about and what they do, and a welcome to them.
Great. Thank you very much, Derek. I'm Dave Shallcross, and I'm the director of our Senior Protection Unit for the Pennsylvania Office of Attorney General under our Attorney General, Josh Shapiro. He thanks you for having us here on the table today and for you coming out and being in attendance. You know, it's important. The things that we do at the office to support our seniors statewide are never ending. You can always contact us online at attorneygeneral.gov. You can email us at seniors@attorneygeneral.gov. And you can call our helpline. I have cards at the table at the very end on the far row. It has all of our contact information on one side, nice and easy, and some basic tips to remind you of what you learned here today when you leave. Some of the other things that we're doing at the office, we started a pilot program called Scambassadors, where we went into a senior living community and helped educate the seniors who live there to help their friends and neighbors. So if someone on the property has a potential scam or a fraud and they're really not sure who to turn to, what to do, they can locate one of their own neighbors that's trained as a Scambassador and get some assistance. And if they're not sure what to do, they're going to call us. So either way, we're always in that chain. We also have a program coming out in partnership with our Pennsylvania State Department of Aging and our Department of Banking and Securities through a statewide financial exploitation task force. We'll be training law enforcement investigators and detectives and patrol officers October 25th in Harrisburg on how to investigate financial exploitation of our older adults. We have programs for education, just like you're at a program today. If you contact the Pennsylvania Office of Attorney General, we'll be glad to come out to your club, your homeowners association, your Rotary, your place of worship, civic association, your place of employment. And we do free presentations on fraud, scams, identity theft, and financial exploitation. So all you need to do is contact us. And again, before you go, be sure to grab a card. Thank you, Derek.
Absolutely. Dave raises some really great points. The first of is Scambassador looks almost better than FTC Consumer Education Ambassador. But you got two new resume
It's copyrighted. It's copyrighted.
So you got two new resume items today. With that, the Postal Inspection Service is an incredible law enforcement partner. They're everywhere. They're in every mailbox. And they fight a lot of fraud. So anything that goes through the mail, any fraudulent item that you see through the mail, if you get that to your postal delivery or to the postal inspector, they're fantastic. When we work with them, the Federal Trade Commission has civil authority to go after deceptive and unfair business practices. Gives us a lot of leeway. And so we can actually go to a judge and say, this looks to be unfair or deceptive. They'll freeze the company, the scammer, lock down the money, and then we bring in the criminal partners, also the AG's office, and they bring in the criminal part of an investigation. So Inspector Thomas, what kind of programs do you want to highlight and welcome us to what it is you all do?
My name is Thomas Ninen. I'm a United States Postal Inspector. I've been an inspector for approximately 20 years. I work mail fraud. Essentially, the Postal Inspection Service, I do not know if many people know about us. Postal Inspector, it's one of the oldest law enforcement agencies in the United States. We protect the employees of the Postal Service, protect the assets of the Postal Service, and essentially we investigate any fraud that's committed using the mail. Generally, common thing are these sweepstakes, psychics lotteries, those things are generally that's in the mail. But we also work computer tech fraud. You might think, how does computer tech fraud affect the Postal Service? How does those frauds go through the mail? One aspect of that is the fraudsters sent money to people, the money mules who received money on behalf of the fraudsters. They go through the mail. So anytime you use mail in the furtherance of a scheme to defraud anyone, United States Postal Service investigates those.
Yeah, he's everywhere. And really appreciate all you guys do.
Thank you.
So I hope it's not too early for my joke. I don't want everybody to run out the door. Government budget joke, okay? We talked about who the Federal Trade Commission is. Unfair and deceptive business practices gives us a lot of leeway to go after scammers. So pretty much everything you see, we hope you would report it, as I said, to ftc.gov or 877-FTC-HELP. Numbers in your booklet and the numbers on your diploma. So please let us know. But unfair, deceptive business practices. If the FTC were a hunter, what type of animals do you think we would be going after? Unfair, deceptive business practices, those who be lions and cheetahs. There they go, we lost them. All right, you're laughing at me, not with me. However, maybe you'll remember us. And a lot of what I'm going to do today is talk about some basic memory tricks, because the bad guys are very tricky. We all know that. So it's us versus them. And if we can give you tips like, if you didn't initiate, we should report it to the Federal Trade Commission, that's big. And if everybody knows that, there go the imposter scams. They're going to go have to find some other way to get to us. That'd be huge. Okay, payment mechanisms. We touched on it. How does a scammer want you to pay, Inspector Thomas?
A multitude of ways. They usually mail the stuff to money mules, intermediaries. What happens is generally this fraud happens overseas. It originates from overseas. So when a consumer or a victim transfers the money overseas, banks generally do not authorize it. So what they do at that time is they have mules or intermediaries in the US who receive these mails, who receive this money, then they transfer it overseas. So that's one way to transfer money overseas. Then we heard about iTunes cards, Target gift cards, and all those gift cards. Well, what happens with those gift cards overseas is they sell it to other people at 60% of the cost of that thing, because they're getting it essentially for free, right? Scamming someone. So then they sell to other intermediaries for 60% of the money, and that's how they make the money.
All right, I can't sit down because I get too hyped. All right, can you hear me okay? All right, we good? Okay, I'll lean in. So, payment mechanisms. Gift cards. I mentioned it. The IRS wants you to pay in gift cards, mainly because that money moves around so quickly. Wire transfer. First of all, I mentioned it. Gift cards are for gifts, not for payments. Don't pay. If they demand that you pay via gift card, don't do it. If they demand that you wire money, if you send money to someone you don't know via the wire, you might as well throw it in the... No, come on, man, it's got to rhyme. We're rappers here. If you send money to someone you don't know via the wire, you might as well throw it in the fire. Half the room gets...
Bing, 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 winner!
Send him back to his table where you get these prizes, which we'll start giving out individually soon. But hint, this is no scam. He's got a bunch more of them back there. So anyway, gift cards, wire me money. What else?
Prepaid debit cards. You might find them with different names at the carousel at the different stores. You'll see them as Vanilla, Green Dot, Serve. They have all different names. Some are just branded as the credit card company, the Visa, MasterCard, American Express prepaid card. Same concept, just like a gift card. Again, if you don't know the person that you're intending to send it to, it doesn't sound like it makes any sense, right? I mean, how many of us have ever paid a legitimate bill with a prepaid debit card or a gift card? Anybody? Then why are you starting now? Because some stranger is telling you to do that? Pause and think. That's the concept. If we pause and think and go, that doesn't really make sense, does it, Derek?
No, I love that.
So hopefully you'll not follow through and realize that you're being scammed.
Okay, so what about cryptocurrency? Let me ask you this. Have you ever seen a cryptocurrency? Have you ever had a crypto dollar? Have you ever paid via cryptocurrency? Good, because you'd lose money, period. There's no chance. I mean, cryptocurrency in its own self, just buying it is a little risky and scary. The FTC has information on our website about what is cryptocurrency, what you need to know before you think about it and don't invest. I mean, think about it and treat it for what it's worth. And show me somebody who's made money with cryptocurrency. Right. Show me a crypto dollar bill. And if you haven't paid by crypto before, why would you start now? This is good stuff. I'm Scambassador, trumped. Anyway, so other things on payment mechanisms that we may not have covered?
Well, you know, Derek, I also just want to mention while we're on cryptocurrencies, you're starting to see Bitcoin ATMs. Anyone encounter that yet? Have you seen a Bitcoin ATM? I know in Warrington, there's one at the gas station at Bristol Road and 611, right? And they're popping up at different locations. Don't let curiosity get the best of you. You do not need to try it. You do not need to participate in it, because curiosity did what to the cat, Derek? I'll let him say that one. But, you know, it's tempting because you're thinking, well, you know, it has to be legit or it wouldn't have an ATM machine. You know, if you do not thoroughly understand the risk, do not proceed. It's that simple, right? Cryptocurrency is unregulated. It changes and fluctuates constantly. And the whole thing, the brokerage of these cryptocurrencies and these coins are hinging on what they call your account key. And it's a series of numbers, a long series of numbers. If you forget it, misplace it, or someone gets that number, you know what happens to your account? It goes to zero. It's not like your email password. You just hit, oh, I forgot, reset password, and they send you a little link and you put a new password. No, it doesn't work that way. You have one cryptocurrency key. When it's gone, your money's gone. So please, really, do not get engaged in that unless you have a thorough understanding of it.
Okay, first quiz, first prize. Who's ready? All right, look at them. They're jumping out of their seats. Probably about the same reaction I got for my Cheetahs joke.
Derek, you're not giving out that $100 gift card to Red Lobster again, are you? That doesn't exist?
This is more valuable. It's
okay.
a magnifying glass from the Attorney General's office. And really, what's the best part about it is it has a light on the back. Look at them all rushing back to your table now.
They're going to clean me out.
Well, you get a special one if you know the answer to this. Buzz in and answer in the form of a question. Here we go. What's the best? This is the best way to shop online in terms of payment methods. This is the best way to pay for something you want to purchase online. Who said that? The gentleman. Absolutely. Talk while I'm walking.
All right. Great job. Give him a round of applause, everybody. Very well done. Right? You know, and I'll give you an additional tip on that. You know, if you're going to be making purchases, especially as the holidays approach, right? That's when we do a lot of online shopping and for convenience. Dedicate one particular card for that purpose. And then you know any emails or any attachments that come related to that particular card account, if it wasn't for that purpose, obviously it's fraud. Someone is trying to bait you to click on something else, go in another direction, and respond to a request for something unrelated to your gift purchases. You know, if that's the only thing that card has been used for, how could that possibly be true?
Trying a new one out here. If you don't want life to be hard, use a darn credit card. Not so good. However, here's the key. By law, you are protected. If you are paying attention, as I mentioned, my wife, she looks at every credit card statement. She saw I play golf that day, but she also didn't see anything that wasn't attached to us. If she did, she would immediately contact her credit card provider, and they, by law, cannot charge you, unless they can prove it was you, more than $50. And I've never actually heard of them, and I hope you all nod because that's part of my speech. Never heard of anyone that actually had to pay the $50. So use a credit card. And if you're online and somebody's making you pay by some other method and won't take a credit card or a check, then I would say, take it for what it's worth, and it ain't worth that much, I'm out of here. So checks, is that actually this, related to checks. Inspector Thomas, do you know anything about, what do they call them? Check schemes. It's advanced, it's like overpayment scams.
I'm not used to this. So the overpayment scams, generally what happens is, let's say you put something on Craigslist or something like that to sell any piece of item, let's say this item, and it's worth $100. They send you a $1,000 check, and they say, oh, we made a mistake, and I need that money back. Generally, by law, Federal Reserve has 5 days to take that money out of your bank account. But most banks nowadays, as consumer-friendly, the more consumer-friendly the bank is, they give you the money that night, that evening. But they won't get their money until for 5 days. So it's that lag that these fraudsters are using. Well, what happens is when these are generally counterfeit checks, nearly always counterfeit checks, and you will be pressured to send them the money immediately as soon as you deposit the check. They will start hounding you the next day. So you go to the bank and you take the $900 out, the difference between the $100 and $1,000, and you send it out. The money's gone. The check will come back as fraudulent in 5 days. The bank will then come after you for the entire amount. So I use $1,000 as an example. Generally, it's very large numbers.
I didn't mention this, but I should real quickly. So what's the government doing about this? These payment mechanisms. First of all, we've sued both MoneyGram and, what's the other one? Western Union. We sued both of them because what they were doing was they were making it easy for bad people, criminals, to get these payments through, and they most often end up in a foreign country where there's nothing we can do about it. And basically, that was knowingly supporting fraud. So we sued them, and we got tens of millions, in the upwards of $50 million back to people who had fallen for these types of scams. We sued Walmart recently. I think it was the senator and possibly General Dave here. And I know he loves that title. That and Scambassador. Where was I going?
Walmart.
We sued Walmart, and what we're looking for now is people taking that as stores taking that as a warning. If you're seeing someone that you know is falling for fraud, buying, because there's limits on what you can pay for these cards, and if you're going over those limits, like you got one for $199, you got another for $199, everything under, and the Walmart's seeing this, then they might want to say, hey, take this and read this from the Federal Trade Commission. Take this and read it from the Postal Inspector. Before you send that money, you might want to think about what's going on here. And that's going to stop a lot. That's something we really hope. There's a change in culture. People know this now. So this is gonna hopefully make a difference. Quiz time. Who's ready? What's a credit report matter when it comes to identity theft? Why is a credit report? No, wait. You have to answer in the form of a question. A credit report is important because of something related to identity theft. I'm going to give you one just because I like you, but a good answer, but not the right answer. Why would you be checking your credit report when it comes to identity theft? She's got it. Look for items on your account that aren't related to you. Check your credit reports. You have the right to get a credit report, one from each of the 3 credit reporting agencies per week. And I'll give you another hint. Per week. They changed it during the pandemic. Guys like Senator Casey put some pressure on them, and they said, okay, please, keep us out of trouble. It was once a year. It's once a week, so that's good. We learned something today. Tell people to check the credit report. If there's anything on there not connected to you, go to the FTC's website. It's on your diploma, identitytheft.gov. It will tell you how to take care of those charges. provide you a form that you can use that says, hey, creditor, hey, bank, I didn't open that account. Here's the FTC's affidavit. They'll take that charge away. Here's another idea. Actually, I'm going to let the general handle this one. What's a credit freeze and why would I care?
Credit freeze is exactly what it sounds like. It locks down and freezes the availability of the credit that's in your good name. That way other imposters, impersonators would not be opening accounts under your identity without your knowledge or information. It would block them. So for an example, if you were going to go out and purchase a new vehicle today, you had that freeze on, it would not go through. The auto loan would be declined because your credit would not be accessed. But you can simply make a phone call, lift that freeze, 2 hours later, that should be clear, good to go, get that loan approved, replace the freeze on, and protect yourself once again. So it's very, very useful, it's protective, and it's preventative. So there's no reason not to do it because it's free.
Freeze is free. Let's see, are there any rhymes I have?
Pennsylvania Banking and Securities has information at their table to help you with that over on the far side. And while we're on that, real quick, I'm just going to put a plug in for us. We have a identity theft checklist on our website. It's free. If you go to www.attorneygeneral.gov, again, it's on the card. You can go type in the search window identity theft toolkit. You'll get a preventative checklist and a corrective checklist that you can follow step by step.
Okay, time for Q&A. Before I do that, though, if you have a question, raise your hand. We'll get a mic to you. There's the mic. Telephone. How many of you are still getting calls, illegal calls, while you're on the do not call registry? That's not nearly as many as thought my joke was not funny. But it's pretty much comprehensive. How many did you get today? Yell it out. 6, 4. Okay. Here's what's up. The Federal Trade Commission is doing the best we can with technology. The phone companies are having better and better luck with call blocking technology. It's in your workbook. Information about how to learn more about that online. ftc.gov/robocall. It will tell you what to look for in call blocking. It will tell you it's www.ftc.gov/robocall. Or just go to the FTC's website and search robocall. Everything that we're talking about today is on multiple websites. Pretty much all three of us have pretty much all of it covered. And the good news is we share information and complaints. I'll spare you that. But let me give you a rhyme. It was all set up. When it comes to the phone, if the number is unknown, leave it alone. I think I heard somebody first over there, but question.
We got one over here. Oh.
Eventually. Thank you.
One over here.
Go ahead.
I guess this goes back more to the postal inspector. Going back to payment scams, we've heard about checks being stolen from mailboxes, taking those checks, having them rewritten, whitewashed, and submitted for payment. What kind of responsibility do I, the consumer, have for that money, that check that's been rewritten?
Look, I work mail fraud. I work the fraud investigations. So it is worked by the mail theft side of our organization. I know there has been some recent arrest on the mail theft angle, and I know there are some impending additional arrests coming up. So this theft of mail is worked very actively. That is right now. But I don't know the inner workings of the thing because I don't work that assignment. But I do know we participated in a couple of arrests a few months ago, or last month maybe, and a few are coming up. So that is being worked. Generally, these checks are they're counterfeited at that time. So you should not be responsible for the funds that's lost because technically speaking, all you need is a routing number and the account number to create a check. So when somebody uses it without your permission and has somebody else's signature on it, it's a counterfeit check.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is it's your check that you mail, and it's stolen from the box.
Here's my advice.
It's redone, your name
Right.
is still on the check.
Here's some advice. When you're putting something compromising in the mail, go to the post office.
Yeah.
It's not compromised, it's stolen from the box. You mailed it legitimately.
So not from the physical box, but if you take it to the post office and put it through that slot, it's a secure, Postal's not giving that up. Also, your the box on the corner.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you don't want to use that. Yeah, just to give you a quick tip, again, first off, the first thing you want to do is you want to purchase pens that prevent check fraud, because the special formulated ink in some pens will bond to the paper of the check. Be more difficult to whitewash that check. We're not allowed to promote a brand or anything, but if you go into the office supply aisle at the grocery store or the department stores, you'll see on the pen displays, some will have it marked, fights check fraud. That's the pens you want to purchase, number one. Number two, just like the postal inspector and Derek are telling you, don't use those public mail depositories, those boxes, because the bad guys, like Inspector Thomas is telling you, can violate the box. They put in glue mouse traps on fishing line and pull mail out. You have to go to the post office and go inside the interior and put your mail securely in the post office. Those are all tips that will help reduce those opportunities for the criminal.
315? Okay, 305. So real quickly, because this is high value, I think you're going to like this. Some of the compromising mail that you get, advanced, approved loans, credit cards, these come to your mailbox. You can get rid of those. You can have those stopped delivering. This is not in your materials. Bonus. Ready? 888-5 opt out. You can get rid of those marketing, those pre-approved checks, loans that come to your mailbox. All the marketing stuff will go away. What was that number? 888-5 opt out. And I don't have it memorized, and my brain doesn't work that well. Direct Marketing Association runs that program, so DMA, Direct Marketing Association. And you can do it online. So, who's next? Speed round, here we go.
What about the postal box right in front of the post office where they were stealing checks from?
Oh, sorry. The post office is actually employing all advanced techniques to stop these things. The more we secure the boxes, these fraudsters are always creative, and they found alternative means. The best way to stop is to go inside the post office. There's slots in there, and you could just put the mail there. Nobody's coming into the post office to steal any mail. But there are mailboxes outside. They're generally cleaned, removed at the end of the day. So if there is the time frame right there saying this mail has been will be collected on such and such a time. Try not to put the mail in there after that time, because then if it lies there, that is more prone to get caught, stolen. But I'm not saying it happens. It is, in the total scheme, it's very rare, but it does happen. When it happens, it affects us, consumers, and that's the reason people complain.
One more.
Everybody here raised their hands with the do not call list. How come, and the other guys, the bad guys, can go through and put a phone number through that's my own phone number, and they can put through other people's phone numbers that are apparently you call a lot. How come they don't seem to be going after the tech companies and the communication companies that can stop that if they, available? I'm
glad you asked, because I wanted to finish with that. I didn't get a chance to elaborate. Here's the speed round answer. Internet, voice over internet protocol allows people to make phone calls, and they're hiding in cyberspace. And most of them are scammers. So, you know, first of all, when they place that call to breaking the law, somebody answers it, I say don't. Let it go to voicemail, choose whether or not you call it back, but that's not good enough. What are we doing about it? Technology. Technology exists. When you turn these numbers over to the Federal Trade Commission, you say, hey, I got 5 phone calls today, here are the numbers. First of all, you block them. Second of all, if you report them, we send them to the telecommunication carriers, AT&T, for example, and say, vet this. This number's not legit. Why is it still ringing? Maybe take that approach. There's several things that are happening as far as call blocking technology is getting better. Try it. And the bad news is, again, most of the people that are making these calls are in foreign country where we don't have the authority to go after them. We're building relationships with these countries and doing everything we possibly can. Postal inspector had somebody assigned to Jamaica, so we developed a great relationship there, and things made a difference. So we're working on it, and there are some laws. We have the technology, but we can't force the telecommunication companies to use it. Maybe they're, we're working with the laws that exist and doing the best that we can. We brought 151 cases, millions and millions of dollars, and they just go somewhere else and do it some other way. And again, what can we do when they're in a foreign country except try to build relationships and say cooperate?
And if I could just add real quick, I just want to warn everybody, we've had a couple people contact us who told us that they get annoyed with the scammers, so they mess with them on the phone. They start to call them names, they put their phone down and let them talk for an hour and a half and all this kind of thing. Well, that sounds great, and we've had one woman who used to keep a whistle at her phone, and she would blast the phone with the whistle, and she thought that was hysterical. Oh, I broke their eardrum. Well, here's the not so funny side. The criminal is not going to tolerate that, and they are in control.
They're not nice people.
They are not. And Derek, what they're going to do is they're going to take that homeowner, that consumer's phone number, and they're going to spoof it by using that computer program to identify themselves as your phone number. And now they're going to call 10,000 people in different countries all around the world, and they're going to make spoof calls to other people as you. And then your phone will never stop ringing with people yelling at you to stop calling them when you're not dialing their number. And you're going to get calls at 2 in the morning, 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning, all day, all night, until you need to change your phone number. So please, don't mess with these people. They're criminals. Hang up. Better yet, like you've heard all day, don't answer the phone. Let that voicemail take the message. Listen and think about it. Because if you mess with these people, they're going to get back at you, and you're not going to like it. We don't want you to be a victim.
Yeah.
We want you to avoid this, and that's why we're here today.
Most of them won't leave a voicemail. Most of them aren't human beings calling. They're waiting for you to pick up.
These voice over internet protocols, phone number calls, they're literally, it's costing the scammers like pennies, not even 1 cent. So it's cost effective for them to just blast 500,000 calls. And if you were to mess with them and waste their time, they have your number. That's why they called you, right? So unless you're some law enforcement entity that has a backstop, it's a good idea not to mess with them. Just ignore them. They will move on.
Okay, we're about to get the hook, so last word. We know you have a lot of questions. We'll be at the tables for at least a half hour, so bring us your questions and we'll answer them best as we can. Actually, they're giving me the hook.
I was scammed. You didn't touch on my subject. I was scammed.
So meet me back there, and I promise I'll take you.
I want all these people to hear this.
Okay.
I never thought I could get scammed on the phone. Have any of you gotten the call where your grandchild's in a hospital and very sick? You would think that you wouldn't get taken. The voice sounded just like her. She was in an emergency room. The police were there. They were going to send her to jail. The woman that she was in the accident with was dying. It was her voice. She was traveling from New York to my house. The call came from New York. So that got me. Her voice got me. It's the voice. If they call you, the person calls you grandmom, and they don't call you grandmom, then you're saved. COVID, I had cash in my house because of COVID. What I want to tell all of you, Only one woman raised her hand. Have none of you gotten the call? I talk to people, they've gotten these calls. What I learned the hard way, what I want to tell all of you, even if the voice sounds like your grandchild, if it's not, hang up the phone. But if it sounds and you're convinced, as soon as they ask for money, say to them, what color is my hair? Do I live in an apartment? What's the name of my dog? They don't have the answers. It's not your granddaughter. It's not your grandson. Have a family code that if they're calling, as soon as they want money, say, what's the code in our family? It could be lasagna. It could be anything.
Yeah, I got one.
It could be 1212. If they don't know your family code. Now, a few more hands did go up, but I've talked to other people where it's happening. So this was something you didn't touch on today, and I want all of you to know. And if you can tell other people, if you get one of those calls, even if the voice sounds identical, which it did, it sounded like Amanda. And me being old and living alone, I got so shaky, I lost it. I mentally lost it. That she was going to go to jail. They got my money. So have a code. If you just ask them, what color is my hair? Where do I live? You don't own a dog. Ask the name of your dog if they cannot answer you. Now, to finish my story, 4 months later, believe it or not, I got another call. Picked up the phone. Hello. Grandma. What's it? They call me Nonna. I knew right away. So right away I said, what color is my hair? Where do I live? What's the name of my dog? They hung up.
Yep.
It wasn't my loved one. So I'm trying, this wasn't touched on today, but it's happening also.
Yeah.
So I just want all of you to know that.
Next stop, we go, next workshop, we go an hour and a half.
Thank you.
3 things, fast. 4 things, 3 things fast. First, thank you. Bless you for your story. I'm glad you got it out. Persistence is a consumer virtue. You're a champion. If you didn't initiate the contact, then you should. If you didn't initiate the contact and they're asking for money or your personal information, it's a scam. That scam could have been prohibited. When in doubt, check it out. Call your granddaughter. That's great. Thank you for sharing and helping us learn. And lastly, what I will say is I want to thank you all for being here. It is, as I said at the very beginning, a big, big deal to us. From the bottom of my heart, I appreciate all you all coming because you are going to leave here today, spread the word, and we can do something about that $5.8 billion. We can do something about these I'm your grandson scams. We can do something about that if we work together, and thank you, senators, for having us. It's a pleasure, it's an honor, and it will make a difference.
Thank you so much. How about a round of applause for our incredible panel here? And I want to thank all of you for being here today, too. And thank you so much for sharing your story. It's not easy to do, and I really appreciate it, and everyone here appreciates it. And I just want to say that some of you heard me say this as you came in the door, that every year I learn something new at these senior scam prevention events. And I wish that weren't the case. But it means that these scams are evolving. It means they're becoming more sophisticated. And the information that you have gotten here today, I hope you'll go out, share with your loved ones, share it with your neighbors, share it, at church, wherever you worship, share it with everyone you know so that we have less victims. Thank you all so much for being here. As our experts said, they're going to be here for another 30 minutes or so. Feel free to ask any questions that you have. Visit the tables, our vendors here. Thank you all so much for being here. We've got incredible information and resources, and I just want to make sure that I thank my incredible staff as well, Brian Mack, Bailey Landis, and Adam Blum, who worked so hard to put this event together. Thank you all so much for being here.